Hey guys, today we're going to be drawing some ballerina pointe shoes. I'm using the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil and the Procreate app. If you're new to Procreate, I also have a video called 25 Procreate Tips and Tricks, which I suggest to watch first because as I draw, I'll be using these shortcut actions. I will link that video below. So grab your favorite tea or coffee and let's start drawing. So I grabbed an image off of Google and I'm going to import it into here to trace it. So let's go into our settings, insert a photo, and here is the photo. And then we're gonna make this a little bit bigger. And then we're gonna go to the end in that layer and just bring the opacity down. Next, we're gonna create a new layer on top of that. Grab our black and a sketch brush. And then we're gonna lightly just trace the outline. Now you can try to copy it without tracing it. I just find for me doing these tutorials, it's just much faster. All right, next we're gonna move the photo over to the left. And then we can bring up that opacity back to 100% and then move our drawing over to the right. So that is what we have. Now I just kind of want to change the ballerina slipper color. I just want to make sure I'm on that layer. I'm just going to go into my adjustments tool and then color balance. So just note that when I change this color, it's going to change the color of the entire image. I'm just going to go into the sun icon here and make sure I'm on highlights. And I'm just going to make the slippers a little bit more pink. Again, it's changing the entire image into pink, but I'm really only focused on the shoe. So that's kind of the color I want, and I'm going to leave it like that. And then I can adjust the flesh color and the shadows after. All right, I'm gonna create another layer. So it's gonna be underneath the sketch. And then I'm gonna grab my airbrush. And from here, I'm just gonna select a hue that kind of encompasses the whole shoe. So I'm just gonna select this one right there. And then I'm just gonna start coloring. It doesn't matter if we're going outside the lines because we're gonna erase it after just to make sure that it's precise. And on this side, I'm gonna select something like that. I just find it easier if I color the entire image and then just erase it after. Okay, next we're just gonna erase the edges. So make sure you're on a monoline crisp brush. You don't want to be erasing with an airbrush. Now, of course, you don't have to do it this way. You can use the monoline brush to color the shoe and then just color drop it. So there is my shoe. I'm just gonna put this little shadow in here as well. So I'm gonna grab that. And sorry, I should have mentioned to grab, you're just gonna put your finger and hold. And then that color you just grabbed will be in your color palette. If you haven't already done so, I do have a tutorial called 25 Procreate Tips and Tricks, which shows you all of these shortcuts. All right, next I'm gonna do the ribbon. Again, grabbing just a general hue from here. And I'm actually gonna create a new layer for that. So I'm gonna put it on top. And the reason for that is just in case we make any mistakes. And this time I'm probably gonna use a monoline brush. Actually, I'm gonna move that layer underneath because there's gonna be a shadow right around here. Okay, so in fact, I'm going to create each strand of ribbon into a new layer. And that is because of all the shadowing that is happening around up here and underneath. And another way we could do this to make it go faster is just decrease our brush size and just trace the outline. And then color drop that in. So I'm going to start another layer for this one up here. So this ribbon is one layer, and then I'm going to do one on top of that, which is this one right here. All right, next we are gonna do the legs. So let's create a new layer all the way at the bottom, above the photo layer, of course. So this color is kind of off for the flesh, but I'm gonna select it anyway. I'm just gonna select the lightest part, probably right there. And it's kind of too pink, so I'm just gonna go and lighten that up a lot. And then kind of desaturate it just by going into the gray area. So, okay, that doesn't look good either. So we could play around with it until we get the right color. So I think I found my color. This color is, I will read it out to you, F7EAE2. So I'm gonna use this color for the legs. Now it doesn't matter if I even go in here because that layer is all the way at the bottom. And then I'm just gonna close it just up here like that. We'll fix that later. All right, so let's do another layer on top of that, which is her left leg. So let's turn off our sketch, and I'm just gonna clean up some of these lines. If you look really close, you can see like stuff like this going on. So I'm gonna quickly clean that up and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. And I just wanna also show you another quick tip. If you can see how this line is really, really jagged, we can make it really nice and fluid just by holding down the Apple Pencil. So I'm gonna do a stroke like this. And I'm gonna end right about there. I'm not gonna let go of my pencil. And you can see it's a really nice fluid line. I'm gonna end it like that. Just fill in any gaps. And I think we're just about done here. Also wanna do one over here. I'm gonna do a curve. So as you can see again, all right, I think I'm happy with that now. All right, next we're gonna do the shadows and the highlights. So we're gonna start off with the ribbons. Let's start off with this one right up there. So it's that layer right there. So next we're gonna turn on our alpha lock just by going into the layer, hitting alpha lock. And what it does, it isolates that layer so you can see these little checkered background in the layer, which means that that layer is now isolated. So if I want to change it to a different color, let's say I want to do a brown, I can change the whole thing into a brown and it's not going to go outside of what I've drawn. So we're gonna turn on the alpha lock so that we could do the highlights and the shadows. So I'm gonna grab this pink again, go back into my disc, and we're gonna select a lighter shade of that pink. And then very important, we're gonna change our brush to an airbrush. So if we're gonna reference this image, you can see the highlight just right around there. You can even go lighter than that. You can almost go to a white. And then I'm going to select that color again. This time I'm going to go dark. Something like that. And then we're going to do the edges. Now this is what I mean when we had to do different layers. So as you can see now, it's not affecting any of the other ribbon layers. And then next we're gonna go into our airbrush, which is right beside the paintbrush. We also wanna make sure that this is an airbrush as well. And then we're gonna increase our brush size by a little bit. And then we're gonna blend this and just apply a little pressure on your Apple Pencil. You don't need a lot. We're just lightly blending these colors together. Now you can play around with this. You can add more highlights. You can put more shadows until you're happy with it. So let's continue to alpha lock all of the ribbon layers. And we're going to apply the same technique to all of them. All right, so there we go. I kind of want to change the color of the actual slipper. So I'm gonna go into my slipper layer, alpha lock that. Kind of want it a little bit more pink to match the ribbon. So I'm gonna grab this pink right there. And I'm just gonna change that color. Whoops, I don't want to change that shadow. Now I just want to bring your attention that there's a perimeter on the shoe. So we just kind of want to incorporate that. So I'm going to grab just a lighter shade of that. So let's grab this pink again and then select a lighter shade. Now with this side, you can see that the highlights are a bit more subtle. So how to achieve that, we're just not gonna apply as much pressure on the Apple Pencil. And then after all that, we're gonna blend this together. Now another tip is the direction in which you blend. If you blend it this way, it's gonna have a different effect than if you were gonna blend it this way. So as you can see, the lines are a bit more jagged. So I think actually I'm gonna blend it this way. Again, you can keep adding more highlight if you wish. And then over here, we kind of have some stitching going on. I'm just gonna lightly do this. All right, last is the legs. And I kind of want to put a little bit more warmth into the legs. So I'm going to change the color just a tad bit. Probably won't notice it. All right, let's get some shadowing into the legs. And then we're just going to apply some shadows where the shoe meets the foot. All right, so next let's do a shadow. Now we can just decrease that opacity a little bit. And then use the airbrush, kind of just to blend that a little bit more. And then if you notice right here, it's kind of really dark, and right there as well. So we're gonna do that with another layer, and the reason because we have this layer all the way down to 36%. So it's not gonna show up. So we're just gonna create another layer quickly like that. Grab our airbrush again, and this time we're just gonna make it a little bit more darker. And you might not think this makes a difference, but it does. See how that makes it really pop? All right, so I'm gonna blend that really, really lightly. And that's it. So let's get rid of that photo layer, and then I'm gonna move everything over. Okay, the legs, we gotta fix the top of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna merge the two legs together. So that's in one layer. And then I'm gonna take my eraser, but I'm gonna select an airbrush this time. So I'm just going to make a swoop like that. So it doesn't look like they're cut off legs. And lastly, I have a really nice textured paper I'm gonna import. So I'll show you how to grab that if you have another layer from another project, how to paste that onto here. So let's go into our gallery. I have the paper I want over here, which is in this layer. So I'm gonna grab that. I'm not gonna let go. Go back into my gallery, go back into my drawing, click on the layer, and then I'm just gonna paste it at the very bottom. So there's my paper layer, and then I'm just gonna rotate this. And then here's my signature I'm gonna import, and then I'm just gonna add it just here at the bottom. Now, if you're gonna do the same thing, this would be really cool to print or to gift to somebody. So there you go, guys. There is your ballerina pointe shoes. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
For more drawing tutorials and gadget reviews, be sure to subscribe to Draw with Marina.